Hey guys, welcome to my first ever reaction video. Today we are going to be reacting to Top 15 True Scary Stories That Will Make You Cringe by Top 15s. Now make sure to go subscribe to this channel, like the video, and comment down below. Here we go.
All of the following stories are from the Ask Reddit post, What's Your Creepiest Real Life Story? A link to this post is in the description below. Number 15. In a cold winter night in a remote village from Quebec, Canada, me and my two brothers were asleep. We were 1, 3, and 6 years old. In the middle of the night, someone entered our house without knocking, walked around, and was talking to himself. Our house is 2 miles from the village in a rural area. My father woke up, went to the living room, and there the guy was. He had a car accident 1 mile from our house with his buddy who instantly died, and his scalp fell in front of his face. He was drunk and his body was frozen. He was speaking to himself, "I'm gonna die." The fact that his face was partially frozen might have saved his life, preventing him from losing too much blood. My father took him to the hospital that was 25 kilometers from our house by car. He did survive. To this day, my father is still blessed the fact that we never woke up during that night with all the noise. Number 14. Last year, a guy came to my door at 9 o'clock at night. He knocked and I got my mom and she went out to see what was up. By the way, we live in a very rural area, so visits that late are extremely uncommon and strange. The guy talked to my mom about how he was opening a business, asked whether she liked American-made products, then handed her a Clorox cleaner as a sample. He went back to his minivan and opened it to get a vacuum cleaner when my mom saw 5 other men sitting inside. She told me to run and get the police since we didn't have a landline. I couldn't find it, so I got my knife and stood around the corner. She threw the container outside and told them to get the hell off her property. They peeled out of the driveway and we never saw the car again. 2 months later, my mom found a single bearded guy putting filled garbage bags by the back door. She asked him what the hell he was doing and he responded by saying, "This is for your little girl." Again, she told him to get the hell out. Then we went through the bags. They were filled with garbage, dirty clothes, and empty tampon containers. Number 13. When I was a kid, I was always the last kid picked up by the bus driver to go to school. One day I was waiting for the bus by myself and a bus with no kids pulled up. The bus driver smiled and told me to hop on. I just had a bad feeling. I said, "Where are the other kids?" He said, "We will go get them now. Just get on." He got more and more pushy but didn't do anything crazy. I kept just saying no and he shrugged and left. The real bus pulled up a few minutes later. I went to school and my parents didn't know until I mentioned it that night. Looking back, they were pretty worried. I remember them scrambling to make a few phone calls. Number 12. It was very early morning or late at night, whatever you want to call it. Around 5 a.m., still dark, my dad and brother and I were in the car driving to the mosque. On the way there, there's a dimly lit road with a forest on both sides and a bend that makes it difficult to see. Bear in mind this isn't a residential area. There isn't even a sidewalk, and the nearest intersection is a good kilometer either way. So we're driving, we get to this bend, and just before it, we see a figure sort of waving us down. They were dressed kinda odd, but I figured it was some sort of running outfit. I don't want to say it was glowing or reflective, because I don't fully remember, but it just made me assume that it was some sort of running outfit. Couldn't make out his face or anything about him other than his clothing. So he's waving us down dramatically. My dad slows down, but doesn't really think anything of it. As we turn along the road, we see a car like right freaking there. It was just out of view before the curve in the road, so we would have definitely hit it if my dad didn't slow down. Dad stops, quickly checks on the driver of the car to make sure he's okay, then doubles back for some reason, maybe to thank the guy on the road who warned us. He drove back quite a ways, no one on either side of the road. It was about 60 seconds from initially seeing the guy to turning around to where he was, so no time for him to really go anywhere.
What? Okay, that is crazy. Okay, so if I were to see a man, like waving us down, I would think he's probably a hitchhiker and would probably want to ride. So, I mean, I get the slowing down part, but how the heck would he be able to just disappear and have there be no trace of him? Well, he could have went back into like the forests or something like that. But anyway, let's carry on.
11. I lived in a small college town and my apartment complex was walking distance from the bar downtown area. One weekday night, I stepped out on my front porch to smoke a cigarette or two. I brought my textbook with me and sat down on the stairs while I smoked. A girl who I had never met but who lived one apartment over but down on the ground floor came home from downtown. She was by herself and you could tell from her walk that she had been drinking. She got in her apartment and barely closed the door before some guy who came out of nowhere knocked on her door. She opened it and I noticed he introduced himself, which was kind of weird because it was 2:30 a.m. Who comes to a strange girl's apartment at that time? So I decided to stay outside and pay attention. They ended up talking for over 10 minutes. She acknowledged how weird the situation was but didn't know how to end the conversation. He would do the creepiest things like how he reached up and stroked her hair at least 3 times and would try and slowly inch his way closer to her and the door. I made a point of being loud with my textbook so he would know I was there, and he had disappeared as eerily as he had come. We called the cops, and days later they had the girl and me sit with a sketch artist. As soon as the sketch was made public, floods of calls came in. The guy turned out to be a serial rapist who had followed lone girls home from bars and pretended to be a cab offering them rides. This girl got lucky just because she lived so close to the bar and he didn't have a chance to pull the cab routine. Number 10. Went camping with some friends on a hill a few kilometers out in the woods from one of the guy's houses. There's a few hiking